like in general.
You can't never fucking see.
Hmm.
Anyway, as always, welcome to Therapy for My Soul. This is season two, episode number one. All right. As y'all see, you got myself, Lamonte Williams,
Quincy Williams.
Jonathan Brown.
And Kayla.
aka Infant. How about that to start off the season, little baby? How y'all been? Even though I've been spending a lot of time with y'all lately, here and there, but how y'all been?
I've been good. I mean, all the drama is bringing up feelings, but other than that, good.
I'm good, man. Just working on myself and my wife. Keep pushing.
Hey,
I'm good. I just started a new job, so it's going pretty well.
boy, you just like typical black folks. I always got a new job, but ain't never got no gas money.
You're right. I do not have gas money.
All right. So, as always, we do like to start off with a few, just talk about how we feeling and how everything been lately. I mean, me for myself, like I was just freaking frustrated just a few minutes ago because I always try to tell people all the time, control the controllable, but I felt like that I can control the situation. So, I mean, I'm feeling a little uneasy. You may get the raw and that cut me tonight, but at least y'all got me. As always, we would like to talk about what's going on. So, first off, May is Mental Health Awareness. If you do know me, you know that me and mental health, and this is why I actually do the podcast. Mental health for me means more than just words. My dad is actually bipolar and schizophrenic, so meeting him about 4 years ago, it allowed me to get the opportunity to go ahead and kind of dive a little bit deeper into mental health and just being able to understand him as a person now. So that's why mental health matters to me. I would definitely ask you, Kayla, why do mental health matter to you?
Who, me specifically? Okay.
You specifically,
Uh,
pal.
I think mental health matters to me because it's affected like not just myself, but like the people I love and care about. And so in order to understand people, you got to kind of understand like where they come from, like what bothers them, what triggers them, all those things. And so it's really important to me that like I'm caring for people and loving people because you never know when it's like somebody's last straw or like if somebody's having a bad day or something. And so I never want to be like somebody's tipping point for like the reason why they would like kill themselves or just like get super low. Like I never want to be that type of person.
Okay. And one of you fellas, y'all wanted to answer that question?
I'll let you take it on, Jay.
I think he froze. I think we got the
Nah, man,
first free. I'm about to say, I think we got the first freeze of the season. Typically, it's me.
nah, man. I'm really just trying to think, man. It's dealing with what I'm doing now. When working with the foundation of Young Life and having to deal with the kids that we deal with and seeing how they can break down and they are the environment that they're in is kind of a hard thing to watch because I never actually necessarily dealt with having to think about wanting to kill myself or anything like that, but I've seen a lot of people in the family, a lot of friends, actually go through that. And seeing it now as an adult with the kids, it just makes me want to actually be in their lives a little bit more and actually work with them and show them better ways to deal with it.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, yeah, mental health matters to a lot of different people for a lot of different ways. When we look at mental health, a lot of people joke about it and stuff like that. But, I always try to encourage people to be there for somebody. You never know what you can help that person overcome when it comes to their mental health. Okay. So that's why mental health matters to us. Now, are you looking to make a difference in your community? At this point, we are in 3 cities, okay? Developing Leaders Within Foundation has touched not only Houston, but the city of Conroe and now going into Dallas. So if you are looking to make a difference, make sure that you tap into the website, thedlwfoundation.org. There's a contact us button on there and just know that you can make a difference in your city. We're not just local anymore. We're trying to really branch out and be able to make a positive impact, not only on the lives of our community, but just keep extending and keep growing and make it nationwide so that developing leaders within can be all over the world. So with that being said, y'all know what this means, right? Oh, he gonna laugh. Proud to announce that my nephew Quincy, that's been a part of the podcast for a little while. We wasn't really close growing up, but as we got older, we got to understand each other a little bit more. So I would like to proudly announce that Quincy Williams will be the executive director of Dallas Developing Leaders Within branch. So congratulations, Quincy.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you.
I know
I'm grateful
him.
for the opportunity.
She said, "I know." Unfortunately, we know you. Um, but with that being said, like I say, just Quincy, I know that you're gonna be able to lead Dallas in the right direction, and with the team that you do have behind you, it's just all love. And most importantly, it's my home city. But I'm trusting you and putting this in your hands.
Sure.
You've been a blessing to me over these past few months, and our time reconnecting. And I haven't been able to actually tell you that, but you just don't understand how much it means to me for me to have my nephew behind me, and not only behind me, but he'll eventually take over everything that I've created. So definitely, it's a pleasure, brother.
Thank you, man. That means a lot for real, for real. I'm excited.
Excited, man. Yeah, okay. So right now we do know that it is football season, right? So if you ain't doing nothing, your kids sitting on the couch all summer, get your ass out there to the Ravens football camp, okay? The Ravens have football camp every Saturday from 10 to 12. In the meantime, like I said, if you can't get out there, hit up Coach J, 832-830-4505, and he'll get you plugged in with some information, get you added. Our football program is not expensive. We do provide equipment. We actually provide passing out equipment tomorrow from, I believe, 9 to 12. So if you do want to join the Ravens, we do provide equipment. For the boys, come on out. Wolverines basketball, okay? We're getting very close to Wolverines basketball coming back. We are a few weeks away from Wolverines basketball. You want more information, hit us on the website. Hit me, hit Coach Woods. Coach Woods is 832-347-4300, all right? I do want to, so that's pretty much all my news. Y'all got any news y'all want to share? What y'all got going on?
None
Kevin,
that
you starting up babysitting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just started a new babysitting job, but I plan to start my own daycare just for different reasons. I've just noticed how hard it is for families to afford childcare, and I want to make childcare affordable, but I also want to provide the types of services that high income neighborhoods can provide for their citizens and stuff. And so I want to be able to do the same thing for people in low income neighborhoods, but also provide access to a daycare that's affordable and that's quality, has people that actually care about the students and the kids and stuff. So really excited about that, which means I have to go back to school. So I'm not excited about going back to school part, but I am excited about what's to come once I'm done. So
Gotcha. Of course, what you got some news of what you got going on with your life?
man, just trying to tackle two parts. I did get a raise. That's the only good. That's the only good part that
amen to that. Amen.
Other than
So that
that,
definitely means you're gonna be injecting a lot more money into the foundation. But
hey,
I got you. So I think my biggest part for today and what we are going to talk about, and a kind of our topic do roll into this. A lot of people have addressed the shooting in Uvalde. With Caleb being the educator, me and Quincy being the background. Well, me, Quincy, and Jonathan in the background. More along the sides of mentoring and everything else like that. This was my first time addressing this matter for myself. So I would definitely say, of course, everybody say praying for Uvalde, but with that being so close to me and where my home is, I would definitely say praying for it. I wouldn't know how to feel if that was my kids in them shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Most do know I have a high school. I have 3 elementary kids, but I just wouldn't know how to feel if that was my kids, and I wouldn't know how I react.
Yeah.
So with y'all not being parents yet, how I can't really ask the question in how you would react, but I guess my question would be more along the lines of, how does it make you feel knowing that you're going to have kids in this world eventually with all the school shootings going on?
I think for me, it's scary for sure. It's like, I don't think that I would want my kids to go to school, just to be honest with you. I think it's only getting worse, and nobody's really doing anything about it. So for me, it's like trying to figure out if I'm intelligent enough to homeschool my own kids or find ways of providing for them education wise, so that I can feel like safe in my mind and they're safe, and I'm not worried 24/7 about somebody going into a school and doing that. I mean, the situation is super duper sad, and a lot of people lost a lot of hearts. Right, the reason why people fight for life and fight through it, and so yeah, it's extremely difficult.
Yeah, I remember Jonathan last season. You told us that you wanted to have what, 8 kids?
Yes, sir.
So how you feel about your kids going to school in this climate, bro?
Man, honestly, I feel the same way as Quincy. I've been, looking into homeschooling myself, even though I don't have any kids yet. It's still something I would like to learn how to do and how to operate it. But also, it's not necessarily a mainly just a worry about my kids. It's for my wife too. My wife wanted to be a school teacher, so it's like, it can go both ways with that. So I'm hoping, things do change over time. By the time I have kids, something has changed. Because I would love for my kids to experience the public school, stuff that I went, that would have to do. But at the same time, it it's gonna work itself out, hopefully.
Got you. Miss K, you want to chime into that or?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I guess my main thing is like I don't want to live in fear of like what could happen every single day. Like, we can get shot, just walking outside or get in a car accident. But because it's an issue, because like everybody knows it's an issue and no one's doing anything. And so I think that's the reason why I'm kind of like, if I was to have kids, like, whenever that happens, like I don't want my kids to be in school, just because like in this specific situation there were armed officers on the site, and they weren't able to do anything.
Right.
And the police officers that were there, it took them an hour to even get inside of the building and save people after he like, entered into the school. So that just tells me like there's some type of disconnect between like informants and all those types of things. And I can't imagine being in a situation where I'm standing outside for like 30 minutes waiting to see if my child is going to come out. Like I just don't even want to put myself in a situation like that. And I already personally have a fear of guns anyway, and so these types of situations don't make it any better. So
Okay. I mean, I definitely, just to extend on that. I mean, I think that at this point in the time that we're in, I don't necessarily think that we need guns no more. There's been other countries that has eliminated guns and everything else like that. But I mean, I understand that the weapon of choice does change, but in reality, we need stricter gun control laws in the United States. There should not be any reason why a normal citizen is walking around with an AR-15.
Hmm.
So I would say that there needs to be stricter gun laws in the United States, and that way that those gun laws are able to not only protect us, but it's able to protect our babies, especially when they go into these schools. People look for a lot of times vulnerable places. If you look at the mass shootings where they've been, churches, schools, hospitals, grocery stores. I mean, that just happened right before the school shooting. So if you look at all these different instances, and it's like, how can we protect ourselves in this matter when we're allowing these people to buy these type of guns? This
Yeah.
18-year-old child went out and purchased 2 guns so
I mean,
close to his 18th birthday.
yeah.
So maybe the age needs to change to somewhere along 25 or something like that. But then when you also look at it, you look at studies and stuff like that, and there's people saying that, oh, bipolarism and schizophrenia clicks in at that time. When at that age, when I had just met my father, the first thing that his counselor told me was go get tested and make sure that you're not on the spectrum or anything else like that, because you're at the age, that ripe age. So is it raise the age to 25, or is it just get rid of the guns?
Yeah. Well, and again, like what you said is super true. Then you go back and you look at like accidents happen from kids getting those access to guns, and so this is just it's not really the peak, but it shows you that through all the collections that we keep seeing, not only are people having access to guns at a young age, but they've been having access to it.
Right.
Even without you bringing in Texas laws, like technically, if I went out, I could go buy, at 16, 17, I could go find somebody who's selling a gun easily and purchase it.
Right.
So for me, it's more like either, new regulations or some kind of ban of guns.
Gotcha. I mean, I know myself and I know you, we both are gun owners. And I mean, your wife just said that she's uncomfortable. I mean, Jonathan, how do you feel when it comes to guns? Like, do you actually own a gun?
Yes.
Now, don't incriminate yourself.
No. I do own a gun and I love guns. But it is, for me, it's more of a protection type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm taking the proper precautions to go and get my gun license, actually get the training for whatever gun it is that I own. I don't want to just have a gun and not know what I'm doing with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem with a lot of people. A lot of people are not actually talked to about the guns that they have. A lot of people are not actually, checking these guns. They're just buying them hot off the street. Or now that with Texas, you can get them from anywhere with no problem. So it's basically just finding ways to, actually understand what that is that you're holding in your possession.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, so that does roll us into our topic tonight. So last season, a lot of the things we talked about, our feelings, how we felt, we really didn't get into how we're actually dealing with our feelings, right? So I think this season is more along it's going to be how are we actually dealing with these feelings that we're feeling. We talked about words matter. We talked about feel your feels. Can we smoke and things like that? But we never talked about how we're actually dealing with our feelings. So tonight's topic, thanks to our lovely creative director, tonight's topic is coping. So the definition of coping is the employment of mental and behavior. I'm sorry, y'all. The employment of mental and behavior methods to control the stipulation of a scenario when such are claimed to be worrying or beyond one's abilities or lessen the adverse feelings and strife resulting from stressors. So I can tell you my first thing to cope, right? And it's a weakness for me. It's a weakness for a lot of people. When I'm feeling stressed, my first thing to do is go fire up a cigarette. I've been smoking since the age of maybe 14, 15.
Ooh.
So I've developed that trigger in my mind to when you feeling stressed, or I mean, even my anxiety rises when I drive in the car, right?
Yeah.
And so me knowing that my anxiety rises, the first thing that I do when I'm in a car by myself, or as soon as the kids get out the car, or a non-smoker gets out the car, is to fire up a cigarette. And that cigarette actually makes my mind like everything is okay. So that's me coping and dealing with that cigarette to make sure that, it's me taking in that cigarette to make sure that I feel okay.
Yeah.
So, that is one of my biggest coping methods. Kayla, when it comes to dealing with like our parents and things like that, we have a very similar background. So I think my question to you would be, how are you coping?
I feel like I'm not. Like, I know that's probably a weird response. It's just like maybe my coping mechanism is just like to like not deal with it at all. But I will say that when I feel like anxious or like really upset about that type of situation, like I immediately have to go take a bath. Like, that's probably weird, but like I try not to like cope in ways that are like negative to my body or like to other people. And I feel like if I'm gonna, be doing something, and like let me say it this way, like I'm the type I don't like water. We talked about this. I don't like water at all. So the fact that I like cope with like taking a bath tells me like there's some type of, it's some type of mental reaction that happens like immediately, like that's just in the back of my brain. And so, when I was a kid, it was a lot harder to like avoid these types of issues like with my parents and stuff, just because I was in the forefront of all of it. And when I was younger, my coping strategy was just to be mean to everyone. Like, just, I don't want you around me, that type of thing. And I've learned that that's really destructive to people. And so I tried to, you know, um, find a way to, like, I guess, cope in a way that doesn't affect other people. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of how I got to, like, the bath situation. But I think it also works for me because it reminds me of being a kid, if that makes sense. Like, I
Gotcha.
remember, like, being a kid taking a bath, and I'm like, I can go back to specific memories of me, like, calling my mom because I, like, forgot my towel or, like, my underwear or something. And so that type of memory, I want that to be stuck in my head. So I think my body just naturally, like, goes back to that part, of my life. And so it's like I'm using the parts of me that, like, struggle, with, like, my parents to, like, like, does that make sense? Like, I feel like I'm not making any sense right now.
I mean,
I
what
feel
it
like
seems
that.
like, it really seems like that you are using a fear to lessen a stressor,
Hmm.
because we know that you're afraid of water, but you going into the bath, I mean, it takes you back to a childhood and it makes you feel
Hmm.
safe. It makes you remember the time when you actually was safe, as we call it. But
Hmm.
I mean, like we mentioned it with the school shootings and everything else like that, do we really feel safe as a child? But if that's the way that you are dealing with your issues and that's the way that you are dealing um, with being okay,
Yeah.
then that's totally fine and that's understandable. So I commend you for that. But
Thank
Quincy,
you.
I feel bad for your water bill though, because man,
So, yeah. Actually, that's not the bad part. Yeah, but she takes a bath usually every night.
gotcha. Dang, that mean you stressing out every night, bro. But Quincy, I mean, coming up with your background, coming from staying where you stand and not just like, oh, putting you on blast, and you know how people feel, but growing
Yeah.
up in a rough area, in a rough neighborhood, how are you coping? Because you was exposed to a lot of different things that a lot of people are not used to growing up in West Dallas. No, you see a lot of different things, and I actually saw one of my first dead bodies in West Dallas. So
Yeah.
it's like, how are you able to be this whole person now as an adult versus where you should have been based off of statistics and stuff like that?
Mm. So for me, like I think my biggest and this, yeah, it goes into another question that we have, but it's kind of like being able to vent to somebody.
Uh-huh.
Not whether it's not a therapist or not. Like, I'll answer that question when it come up.
Okay.
But for me,
For the middle.
just just um, just venting to somebody in general feels good. So
Gotcha.
then when going through West Dallas, well, going through, whatever I went through in wherever I was, just me being able to talk about that with somebody who may understand it or may not understand it, um, it helped because a lot of us as men, we got no choice but to hold it in
Right.
because we got to keep, and not just men, but you get what I'm saying. Like we feel like we got to hold it in to protect our families, to protect our environment and just in general. And so either hold it in or be able to vent it to somebody. That was kind of my choices. And so I was able to vent to a couple of people in my life, and I was able to continue pushing forward. And those next things that were traumatic or those events that happened, I would just hold it in. And I didn't really release it until I told you about those walks I would go on. Those walks
Mhm.
like just allowed me to either talk with God or just be there, let the wind hit your face, and while it's hitting it, it's coming out.
Right.
So it was good though.
I mean, one of those other coping mechanisms that coping things that I did learn over time, and I actually learned it from a very good friend, is actually recentering yourself. At times, I do catch myself feeling a little bit uneasy, and in those times when I feel uneasy, I actually go outside barefoot. Now, if you know me, I don't do no socks. I got on shoes right now, and I'm inside the house. I got on socks right now. I don't do the feet out, but it feels different when I'm feeling uneasy or I'm feeling a sense of overwhelming or something like that. I'll take 5 minutes, I go outside and I go walk in the grass barefooted or something like that with my shoes right on the concrete. but it's just me recentering myself to the earth and like just feeling just feeling like I'm filling a whole void in my life at that time.
Yeah.
I'm a person that's more along the lines of maybe energy and I wouldn't say a vibe because I'm not these young typical kids, but uh, just like I say, just like a feeling of I just feel better. Let's just put it like that. I feel better once I recenter myself with the earth, you know. Um, so that's definitely how I get past life, especially staying in the house with 4 kids and 2 dogs. You need that time to yourself.
Yeah. I'm about to say you don't even take your socks off in the pool.
No, no, no. You don't do that. No.
So that's where Quincy got that from.
Okay, well, I gotta protect my feet. I already got bad feet. I gotta make sure that myself look good. But either way, I mean that is definitely coping. I mean that first question that we had, what does coping mean to you? I think that we just kind of answered that question all in the same. So I would definitely just bypass that one. Um, what's a positive coping strategy that you have? I think we're gonna take time. Like that one is definitely something that you would just take time on and think about. But what would be that positive coping strategy that you have? Um, Mine's is like I said, is me going outside, is me recentering myself, it's me gathering myself, or it's even times where as a man, pretty much the only time that we really get alone is when we out in the garage, when we working on our car, or when we shower. I do use my shower as my time for like my nighttime prayer is always in the shower. If I felt more comfortable doing it in the shower because I do take a shower by myself and it's just, it's enclosed, it's me, it's only me and my thoughts in there and my body's able to feel relaxed. So I use that time for prayer and meditation. But like you did hear me say meditation, I also do meditate. At times I do have problems with sleeping. So I'll just sit up and I'll just meditate. And I may not actually be like physically sitting up or anything like that, but my eyes are closed, my back is to the bed, the cover is off of me, and my mind is just in this free space and allows me to be able to think and allows me to be able to get to that clear space that I needed to be in order to feel successful for that day.
Yeah.
Oh, the slacker is back. Hi, slacker.
Back.
Man, he got yelled at. That's why he had to get out the camera. He had to cope with them feelings for a minute to get yelled at. But like I say, it's just that's the way that I cope. That positive shower, recentering myself with the earth and prayer and meditation, those are definitely the biggest key factors for me and for what I feel like how I'm gonna grow.
Yeah.
I do have a positive coping strategy. I guess it's based off of, the person.
What in the world?
Where did Infant go?
Well, I'll go for mine then. I think my positive would be
Okay. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
I think this is the most we done had in one podcast.
I think it just all glitched for me. What was I about to say? So like I like to write poetry, and ever since I was a kid I've just always been like into writing, and I have like poems from when I was in like the 7th grade or something, and like I was mad at my biological dad or my mom or whatever it was at the time. And so the reason why I say it's positive is because I'm able to, even if I'm not saying my feelings out loud, I'm able to get it out in like a creative way that can potentially like help other people like feel seen, So I know I usually share my poetry with people, or like I had an Instagram where I was like sharing my poetry, but it didn't go really well. But I'm actually gonna write a poetry book kind of like about my childhood trauma. And so I just feel like it's like gonna force me to like face some of the things that I haven't necessarily like put to the forefront of like, my life right now, but also just is gonna help me like process and heal, those things as well. Just like through a creative outlet. And so I encourage people, even if it's not a poem, just like write down whatever. I know y'all are guys are probably gonna be like, girl, we're not doing that. But like if you write down how you feel, even if you're not saying it out loud, you're getting it on paper. And your brain is kind of telling you, okay, we can calm down now because we were able to get it out. And that was one of the ways I was able to cope as a kid, because I was put in a lot of situations where I couldn't speak, like I couldn't use my voice. And so I tend to not say anything when something's bothered me, but I can like write it down. I feel safe when I'm writing it down. I feel like um if if nobody finds it or whatever, like I can't be judged for it, and it's not like, because once you say something you can't take it back, you know what I mean? And so if I'm writing it down, it's not like I'm hurting anybody's feelings. Like I feel like I'm not attacking people. It's just me and the paper. And so that's definitely helped me over the years. I'm still a Looney Tune, but yeah, it's definitely helped for sure.
I actually went to therapy for a few years, like I've mentioned on a few previous episodes, and the therapist and actually the marriage counselor that me and my wife actually saw, he actually suggested us to grab books, and we were writing those books. When I joined my therapist figured out what I liked. And a lot of people know I like fire. I actually set the bushes in front of our house on fire. Um, but when she found out that I loved fire, she told me to start writing it and then start setting it on fire. And I had a fire pit in our backyard, and I actually got so mad one day I just burnt up the whole entire book. Um, I stopped ripping pages out and I just dropped the whole book in there, and like I felt relieved, and I felt like that at that point, like all of my stressors and all my worries were released from my body.
Mm.
So I definitely agree with you when it comes to writing.
Noted. Light a fire in the house. Noted.
Yeah, light it, fire it up. Jonathan, my question would be to you, as dealing with life and everything that you've been in front of, how are you coping? Like what is your positive coping strategy?
For me, I would honestly have to say prayer in a way. Growing up, I never knew how to pray. I never knew what it was. I never understood it. But now it's become like a big helpful thing for me. And sometimes I still, miss, the things that I pray for. And it's like, I still miss, when it actually happens or when it changes. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, that would have to be my biggest thing. And then also being able to just work. I love, working with my hands. I love whatever it is I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna try to clear my mind with it using that method. So whether it's working, tossing the ball around, just doing something to clear my mind, listening to music, just something.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the music part. I mean, when you look at my body and you look at every tattoo, I think out of the 22 I have, probably 18 of them deals with music. So I definitely do agree when it comes to music. Quincy, how are you? What is your positive coping method?
Well, I think mine's is, I don't know if it's a positive or, for me, it's a positive. It's more like, when I go on those walks, I talk with God. I kind of like, in my frustration, I'm like, God, why you allow this to happen? And in a way, my answers get flipped back on me, like, oh, this is why, And so I don't know if you want to say I'm just talking to myself, going back and forth, talking to myself, but in those moments, it feels like my answers, like, oh, why did I lose this amount of money this month? Well, you're not doing everything you need to do to meet that expectations, and so it feels like, I get my answers on my walks just by talking and getting it out.
We're gonna leave that inside joke in there. We can't let the podcast find out about that. We just had that conversation last week.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree. Yeah, everybody laugh. Everybody have their own vice, and it sounds like everybody here has figured out how to positively cope versus the negative. You know, a lot of the times, and especially in our family, we look at our family and we know that drugs is one of the biggest addictions in our family. Drugs and alcohol. And a lot of the times, the people that we are around growing up, what do we see? Oh, I'm sad, or it's a funeral. And the first thing I'm going to do as soon as I walk out this funeral, we're going to go to the back of this trunk. We're going to get this Crown Warrior bag and we're going to drink. Versus
Bruh.
dealing with the pain head up, we bury our sorrows in the weed, the cigarettes, the liquor.
The Bud Ice, okay.
Oh, the Bud Ice for
Oh
sure.
my gosh.
The tall can too. Oh wait, no, we forgot one. 211. Still, the Steel Reserves. Those two.
Man.
He knew the head popped up. He knew what we were talking about.
Nah, Becky be doing glove tails.
So that's why I say, like, you know, we wasn't taught how to actually address our feelings. We wasn't taught how to deal with them. I was never told when you're sad, feel your feelings. I was always told you're a man, tighten that shit up.
Yeah.
Or we was always told you're bigger than this. But in reality, like I told people last season, I cry now. You know, I was on my way to Dallas last weekend because we had that meeting in regards to just setting the standard and everything like that. But when I realized where I was actually headed to in my life, I cried. Being from Dallas, like, my city is my city and I love my city and I'm always going to represent my city. But being able to bring something that's bigger than me to my city, it gave me a sense of overwhelming. It gave me a sense of joy. And not only was it joy, but it was also anger. And then it was also sadness. And I felt like that I went through every stage of grief in that moment because it was just like, why haven't you been done this? But not only that, it was also, are you going to actually make your city proud? So in that moment, I had to gather my feelings and gather my thoughts and get my stuff back together because I knew what I was doing was a positive light, but was it really the right decision? So there's definitely that. Kayla, if you've been in counseling and there's a coping strategy that you learned, what would you like to share that? I know over the course of time, you know, I know that you've talked to school counselors before and you've talked to regular counselors also. So what were some of the things that you learned that can help the next person?
One of the things that I've done it before and that I've learned is that, like, being angry isn't like a bad thing. It's a response, you know, to an emotion. And so if you're feeling some type of way, it can make you angry, like, you know, specifically like about the Uvalde shooting, like it makes me angry, you know. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
It makes me angry, and so that's not a bad thing. It's about what you do with your anger that makes it like a bad thing. Like if I go, you know, stab Quincy because he didn't wash his dish, like that's different from like, hey Quincy, like, you know, can you wash your dish? Like that's a different response to my anger. But one thing I've learned is like you can take you can go to Goodwill, go to Dollar Tree, buy a glass plate, and just break it. You can, but one of the things that you want to do with the plate is like write down all your frustrations on it, like with a Sharpie or whatever. And so it could be like, you know, I feel like I'm not getting paid enough. I feel like I'm not being treated fairly. I feel like my friends are crappy. Whatever all these things are that you're feeling, you write it on the plate and then you smash it. So it's kind of like representing the same type of idea of like burning the pages like you were talking about, but you just do it in a different way. And as you're sweeping it up, if like it just is this moment of like, okay, like I've released this, you know, and every like coping is all about release, right? Like that's kind of the main idea. It's like you're trying to release these feelings in a way that just helps you feel better. And so there's different ways to do it, but that's one of the ways that I've learned. It's very helpful, and it feels like I'm getting I feel like I'm working through whatever the issue is rather than like avoiding it or like making it a bigger issue by like pinning it on somebody else or attacking people because I'm frustrated. So,
You know, a lot of people say I like metaphors. I'm gonna need you to look at that plate as picking up the pieces.
mm.
Jonathan, at this point in your life now, you're more in a counselor role when it comes to these children and young life. What methods are you giving these kids to cope and deal with it? Because the area that you actually deal with is not a, it's a very, very, very intense area. So what methods are you giving these kids in order to deal with their problem?
I'm giving them a chance to talk and actually listen to them. That's like the biggest thing, especially in the Black community. As you know, we're not given that chance to speak what we want, what we want to speak about. For me, necessarily, I grew up not wanting to do counseling, not ever liking counseling, but now that I'm grown and I see how much it can help, I have a different, mindset about it. So I'm not necessarily, a licensed counselor, but I'm giving these kids a chance to be able to speak to me, give whatever it is they want to get off their chest, and just listening, because I'm not here to necessarily respond to you and make you feel the way that I feel about the situation. I'm here for you to just let it all out. So that's one, and also just showing them different things, taking them around, see the world, man. We just did a trip to Kansas, and they were able to see their environment out there and how it can be the same as where we're at. It's just different ways. If you see different things, and you see how it can all be related to where you're coming from, it kind of gives you a different mindset on things. Like basically how we look at Africa and say, for years we've looked at Africa and said they're poor, but there's some places in Africa that are really rich.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we have places here. So it's basically just giving them a chance to be able to realize some things, put things in perspective for themselves, and letting them know that somebody's actually there for them.
Okay. Good answer. Very good answer. I think Quincy, as we get closer to the end of this episode, I think my question to you, Quincy, is what's a negative coping strategy that you do have? Yeah, Junior G, let's go.
Like I told you, I think my biggest negative coping one is building it all in. Just allowing it to all collect. Just thinking, okay, I'm gonna get past the the arguing. I'm gonna get past the extra light bill. I'm gonna get past Caleb, being mad because, I didn't do this to do that. I'm gonna get past this frustration and just allowing it to overtake me into that point where, I blow up, or, I don't, one time this happened, I went to the store and I had allowed it to build up, and I hollered at the cashier.
Oh.
And she didn't do a lot wrong, but it was taking her a long time. And I felt like in that moment, like she was doing it on purpose, just because of all this built up animosity and all this built up anger and frustration. So I hollered at her. And then in that moment, I instantly felt bad because I knew, like, I didn't release it. I intentionally didn't release it. I knew how I was feeling. I knew that I was feeling like this for days. I knew that I was in this moment. And so I think my biggest one is like allowing it to build up until you blow up and make that mistake.
Gotcha. I can definitely say for me, we all know that majority of my life I bite my nails.
Yeah. Oh.
So that's definitely one. When in a high stress, stress, nervousness, depression, any feeling that I get, even a feeling of being happy, I find myself just biting, and it's not a sense of I'm telling myself to do that, but over the course of years, it just became something that I've become comfortable with. It's just like a child with sucking their thumb or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now I'm a grown ass man. You ain't gonna see me walking around sucking my thumb, but you'll see me walking around biting my nails. So I definitely think that the nail biting is something. And Kayla, while you over there laughing, I know you do the same thing. And I saw you with your finger in your mouth a few times.
I bite my nails, but
I saw you with your finger in your mouth a few times.
No, that's why I'm laughing. I'm laughing because you look like you bite.
Keep on, infant.
Crazy.
But I
Whew.
mean, I do want to start this new segment though, and you know, like I said, we are getting close to the end of our conversation. But I do want to start this segment. I want to start shouting out Black-owned businesses. A lot of the times, a lot of people say that, oh, I'm gonna shop Black-owned, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But in reality, what are you doing? So while all you women are sitting out there running out there to what is it?
Bed Bath and
Bath and
Bath
Body
and Body
Works
Works.
and all these other. See, that's how you know I don't shop there.
He told some Bed Bath to be.
Hey, listen, it's one of them stores, okay? Either way it goes, a lot of the times we overlook the Black business because we run to the big name.
Yeah.
So I do definitely want to start shouting out Black-owned business. So my first Black-owned business, and unfortunately, it was my sister, but Christina
Unfortunately.
Williams. Unfortunately, man, you know I don't like my siblings like that. But the first one that I will want to shout out is Dirty Little Candles. Okay, she has these 8-ounce jars. I believe she have 12-ounce jars. She have sprays. She have wax melts and everything else. You can go to her for anything that's going to be creative. Okay.
And it smells
Um, They do smell good, bro. You know, I don't even like that poofy stuff, but these candles here, they hit different. I got this pack, I think about maybe a month ago, and I'm already ran through, I think, 4 or 5 candles. Now they burn slow, but not only do they burn snow, the smell of them, like Quincy said, they just very good candles. Okay, so hit on Facebook, Christina Williams or Fastina Williams. We'll definitely drop a link later on for her page, so you can go and get you some. As always, I'm Lamonte Williams.
Quincy Williams.
Caleb
Johnny
Williams.
And always, this is Therapy for My Soul. For thank you for joining. Catch us next week. I promise y'all, this season we're going to be better, and y'all are going to get that weekly episode from us. Even if it's just one of us, you're going to get Therapy for My Soul. All right. Thank y'all for y'all time. Have a great night.